Feels a lot better. Yeah, so I feel comfortable with that. I'll go ahead and air dry that off, and then I'm going to step up to 2000. Okay, so I'm reaching over, now I'm grabbing the 2000 sandpaper. I'm going to repeat that process a little bit. I'm going to add WD on the side, add WD on this side, and then add some to this paper a little bit. This one tends to get stuck a lot more than the 1000. I mean, for obvious reasons. And then when I cut my sandpaper, I had to cut it in strips. So it ended up being, I think it was 5/8 for my journals. 5/8 was a good number. I think I had 11/16, but it just ended up being too much in there. And I was getting bound up on the side of the crank. So I ended up going back, I think it was 5/8, if I'm not mistaken. 5/8 is a good one. All right, so I have the 2000 on there. I'm gonna go ahead and apply my shoestring back over the side. And then bring it back over. And I try to rotate that as I'm tightening it. Yeah, if you start spinning as it's adding pressure to the sandpaper, it won't get jammed up as easy. I know that if you just tighten down and try to rotate it, your sandpaper is just going to be too wet, it's going to stick. And then after the 2000, I'm going to use a polishing compound. I use S-Sol. I'll show you. I had to do a little bit of research on it. I see a lot of people using various ones like Mags, Aluminum, Blue Magic. But from research that I've done and credited to ChatGPT, it recommended using very specific crank journal polishers because the aluminum oxide and polishing compound is more or less a different form of sandpaper, just so much finer. And for whatever, I can't remember the very specific reasons for it, but it had to do with the materials inside the polish compound. So it does matter. I'm not an expert, but I'm gonna go with the one I chose. I'll show you here when I'm done. And part of it too, when I was doing my honing, I didn't block off the journals well enough. Water got on there, it flash rusted. And if you have flash rust from a hone on your journals, you definitely gotta get that off. Okay, let me try that. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Let me get this cleaned up a little bit. Alright. Now to get it cleaned, get all the debris off, I'm going to use brake cleaner. Gotta make really sure, like I mentioned before, you use this, make sure if your cylinder is exposed, make sure you get that clean or blocked off. All right. And there's supposed to be a certain level of smoothness. You don't want it completely mirror-like. I think the measuring is like 10 to 20 RA, your roughness average. So they're saying you don't want it completely like a mirror, because the idea is that you want the bearing to float, right? So and also it has to be just enough where it floats but retains enough oil, and you don't want it to interfere with your bearing clearances. So it's too little where it's too rough and rigid, and then your bearing gets friction and ends up wearing out your journals. Like, that feels good to me. I like that. I can't feel the edge anymore. Okay, I'm gonna try to go from the corner here, get over to the top of the bearing. Okay. I'm just going until I don't see any more debris on my rag here. Okay, that looks good. Now, what I'm using Autosol metal polisher compound. Now, I had to get a fabric cloth like this here, and I cut it into like a fourth, but you want to make sure you roll it, because when you cut the fabric cloth, the corners here fray and it leaves a lot of fabric, right? So I have to re-roll this up, because you don't want that to get onto your journal at all. So you kind of do what you can to like clean that off, get that blown out, do everything you can to remove all of the fabric. I was originally planning on just cutting these like into 1-inch pieces and just going right to it, but I realized that it's just leaving too much fabric. So I just like decided to go a different route. So then I roll it inward, and then I'm going to add just a little bit. So I'm gonna add like a P right here, and then a P down there. So not a whole lot.